Okay. So as you can see, I have started recording this event. We'll have it posted within a few days on the AARP New Hampshire YouTube channel, and they're going to put that in the chat, and it'll be at youtube.com/@AARPNH1. So thank you for joining us today for our cooking class brought to you by AARP New Hampshire and the New Hampshire Food Bank. My name is Frances, and I'm your host today. I'm also a volunteer with AARP New Hampshire, and AARP has been promoting the health and well-being of older Americans for over 60 years. So in New Hampshire, AARP works to bring you informative, innovative, and fun virtual events just like today's cooking demonstration as a means of connection and inclusion. We have free healthy living resources on our website, which includes staying fit, wellness and longevity, and information on healthy eating as well as staying sharp. There's something in there for everybody, and we will put the link in the chat. And AARP is a nationwide nonprofit that helps people 50 and older live the life they choose. As a member, you help support AARP's important national and local efforts, like protecting Social Security, helping people fight fraud, and lowering prescription drug costs. Membership can also bring real savings on things like dining, travel, and gas, which matters more than ever with today's soaring prices. So a little bit about Chef Shane. Chef Shane is the chef culinary instructor at the New Hampshire Food Bank, where he leads hands-on cooking programs focused on practical skills, nutrition, and building confidence in the kitchen. With a background in hospitality and event dining, he brings a creative yet approachable style to his teaching. Shane is passionate about helping others make the most of simple, accessible ingredients while creating meals that are both flavorful and nourishing. Today, Chef Shane will be demonstrating how to make maple glazed salmon, charred broccolini, scallion balsamic rice and brown butter, citrus chili crisp. So if you have any questions, please put them in the chat, and Mary, Ashley, or I will answer them as we go along during his cooking demonstration. So Shane, it's back to you.
Hi all. So yes, today we're going to do maple glazed salmon, some scallion basmati rice, and brown broiler chili crisp broccolini. So we're going to start with our salmon. We're going to get the salmon and broccolini in the oven first, and then we'll build all of our sauces and everything to go with the broccolini. We're going to start. I'm going to show you kind of two preparations for this salmon. I did leave one piece with the skin on. When you go to your fish market or wherever you buy your fish, have them cut whatever sizes you want. I have some 6 to 8 ounce fillets, and you can have them either deskin it for you, or some people enjoy the skin. So I'm going to show you guys how to properly sear the fish, and then we'll make sure that it's cooked the same way, roasting in the oven. So I'm going to first oil and salt and pepper and season all this fish up. I have some gloves on to make sure that we stay food safe. I want to make sure that we're not doing any cross-contamination. I'm just going to season this with just some salt and pepper. And then I'm going to take one glove off to make sure place them in the pan. So I have the pan on medium-high heat, and I'm going to add just about 2 tablespoons of oil, just enough to coat the bottom of the pan. And then in the roasting pan, I'm going to take some nonstick spray. Just spray it just so it doesn't stick. If you're using like a Pyrex pan at home, you don't have to really spray those. I'm using a stainless steel pan, so it will stick. And then all I'm going to do is just lay my fish nice and gently into the pan, leaving enough room for the seared one. And all I'm waiting for is the pan to be glossy and you'll slightly see it start to smoke. And this is a step you can sear off your salmon if you'd like it a little bit more cooked. But there's many people that do like the skin, so I wanted to give you guys the demonstration on how we can sear it off. So this is what we're looking. This is what we're looking for. You can start. I don't know if you can hear it. We're hearing a nice sizzle, and all we're doing is we're going to cook the skin thoroughly to just build a nice crust. We're not going to flip it. We're going to cook it on one side, and then I'm going to lay it skin side up into the pan. While it finishes, I'm going to start with our maple glaze. And this is another thing that's super simple. And I actually already patted off the salmon. When you get it, it's going to be somewhat moist or overly wet. So you want to make sure you pat it just so you get a nice sear. If you're roasting in the oven, it's okay not to pat it dry. So all we're going to do is I'm going to take some garlic. And this is the biggest thing that we got to do is mince up some garlic. So all I have is some cloves, nice cloves. You can buy minced garlic if you like. I don't quite like it for this type of dish, but all I'm going to do is just hit it with the knife, nice and easy, and it pops right out.
Shane, quick question.
Yes.
If you have your salmon is skinless, do you still sear it?
What was that?
If the salmon is skinless,
Yep.
do you still sear it?
You don't need to sear it. So I have two pieces right here that are skinless that I'm not searing at all. Searing it, all it's going to do is it's going to build a crust on the skin. The skin won't cook all the way if you don't sear it. And the biggest thing I would say when you're cooking in a pan, if the fish starts to stick, don't move it. It will release from itself when it's ready. All I'm going to do is peel this down. Just a little bit closer. And your fishery will, or the way where you buy your fish, they'll deskin it for you. It does come unskinned on when you buy it, so you just have to let them know. I'm just going to finish chopping this up. So all we're looking for is just a nice mince. And then I'm just going to take this fish, dip it down, tuck it right in. So as you can tell, a nice seared piece of fish. And I'm just going to turn the heat off. And we have a fish set. So we're going to finish our marinade or our glaze. We have our chopped garlic. We're going to add some soy sauce, Dijon mustard, which you can use any really mustard you have. I wouldn't do yellow mustard, but if you have it, that's what's going to thicken the sauce. So you can use that too. And same with the maple syrup. We're from New Hampshire, or I'm from New Hampshire, so maple syrup is readily available. You can use honey, just a natural sweetener. And all we're doing is just whisking it nicely together. Leave the sesame seeds for after. Set this aside.
You can use brown mustard, right?
Yep, absolutely. So then I have two styles of brushes. I have the silicone one and then a nice, they're bristled brush. I don't quite like using these anymore. I find them ending up in the food. So I like the silicone, but whatever you have. use what you have at home. You don't have to buy a certain item for this dish. And you can also spoon it on if you don't have a brush at all. So all I'm gonna do is lightly brush the fish, and I'm making sure, which I should have already, I should have before reserved a little. So I don't want to push this back into, or put the brush back into the marinade just because I brushed now the raw fish. So I'm going to actually use another brush after. So now we have our glazed fish. And this is going to continue to cook. The marinade's going to cook down and get more, not sticky, but more syrup-like. So I'm just going to set this aside real quick to get our broccolini set. Our recipe does say 2 different cooking temps. If you're doing this recipe together, you can cook them all at the same time. That is perfectly fine. I did do the lower temp, the 400 degrees, because the salmon can overcook at the higher temp. We want to make sure that we try to control that temperature. I've already washed and patted dry the broccolini, and all I'm going to do is take the end of the broccolini and cut off the tips. And that's all you really need to do for this. If you end up, some of these broccolinis sometimes are big, so we want to cut them down a little bit. We're trying to looking for this size, so I'm just going to put my indicators, and then any bigger ones I'm going to cut in half. And this is just to make sure that they cook thoroughly and all equally. And then all I'm going to do is just drizzle some olive oil and salt and pepper.
Shane, did you add lemon to your marinade?
Nope, I did not. Dude, it does tell for lemon. That was my mistake. I'm going to add it right now. I'm actually just going to squeeze it right on top of the fish. Thank you, Mary. All right. So now we have our broccolini. We're just going to oil real quick. Give it a nice toss. And this is one thing that you want to make sure you're getting it coated. You have a big enough pan to fit it all. And then we're just going to salt and pepper. And we're going to get these pretty much fully cooked for about 12 to 15 minutes while the salmon cooks at the same time. And the broccolini is going to take a little bit longer. So that's where we're going to cook them similar at the same time. The salmon will come out first. And then a couple minutes later, we're going to turn the broccolini to make sure that it's fully cooked and thoroughly cooked. And then we'll throw it back in the oven to finish off while the salmon sits. But while it waits, we're going to start our basmati rice. And you can use any long grain rice. I have basmati. You can use jasmine. But what we're going to do is we're going to rinse our rice. This is a big thing that you want to do because this is a lot of starch in your rice. So about 1 cup of rice. And this is, like I said, very starchy. So you want to put it into a strainer. And what I'm going to do first is give it a nice rinse. And what I'm going to do is agitate it a little bit, making sure I'm not overfilling my bowl. And then every single time I do this, it's going to rinse out some of the starch. And what that does is it just helps your rice not clump together. Because see how much, I guess, murky water we have out of this? That's what's going to clump your rice together. So I'm going to rinse this about 3 times, all depending on how much rice you're doing. We're looking for clear water to rinse through, or the clearest we can get. It's still going to be somewhat murky, but it's going to be a big change. And every single time I'm just agitating it a little bit A little messy, but that's okay. And every single time it's getting a little less murky. And that's why actually restaurants will do this somewhat ahead of time. More water. We're going to do a couple more times. It's going to take a little bit more time just because of the vessel I have. I have a little bit more water. But as you can tell, it's getting less murky. And we're going to stop there. So it's a lot less murky than what we started with. You can actually see through it now. And we're going to set that aside. And we're going to start at a medium high heat. We're going to add our butter into the pan. And we're just melting this down. We're going to add, just melt it down, and then we're going to add our onions. Here are scallions for after. And that's the biggest thing with rice is don't skip this step, or you have a tendency that it will clump together and you have a big mushy mess at the end. So all we're looking for, get this melted down. I'm going to add our onions. While that starts to cook, I'm going to get our crumb somewhat assembled as well. Maybe one more induction burner. Yeah, right back there. So all we're looking for is to cook this translucent, which means that you can see through the onions. So just maybe 2 minutes. And this is all depends on the size of onion you cut. I did a small dice. Where if you did a medium-sized dice, it just takes a little longer. It all depends on my assistant plugging in another induction burner, which is fine. Because we still got to melt the butter for this, and I want to make sure that this cooks properly. So as you can tell, getting very translucent. We're going to add our rice. And all we're doing for this rice is making sure that the butter coats it, and that's what's going to help prevent it from sticking together as well. And as you can tell, I haven't seasoned this at all. I'm not going to season this till the end. Rice is one of those things where it's going to absorb all the flavor with what you're cooking with. If you add salt now, it's going to add more moisture, and you don't want that. So all we're looking for is just to get a quick toast on the rice. And then we're going to add our water. I have about 2 cups of water here. I'm just going to use about 1 1/3 cups. Making sure that we have a little bit left just in case. Right. And then I'm going to use an indicator with my finger. It's going to sound weird, but if you take your finger and you go 1 notch up, your first knuckle, and you're going to put your finger in the water, and you can do this right now because it's not super hot. But if you take the measurement of the water from the bottom of the rice, or the top of the rice, to the top of the water, it should be your first knuckle. And that's it. So I know that's how much water I'll need. But it's usually a 2-to-1 ratio. We're having pretty humid weather here, so I'm going to go a little less on the water. But if it was drier, you would add the full 2 cups. And then I'm just going to let this come up to a quick simmer. And I'm going to let it. I'm going to let that go just a little bit. And turn on my other burner. And this is the biggest thing with rice. You want to stir it just a few times as it cooks. But you want to let it do its thing. You want to leave it alone. Add this there. Stop leaping. And that's all we're waiting for. So we'll come back to that. But all we're doing is bringing it up to a simmer and letting it cook till all the water absorbs. The key to this after, which I'll show you, is taking it off the heat and fluffing it up with the fork after. But we have to get all the water absorbed first. I'm going to close, put the lid on that real quick, get that up to temp. So I have a nice pan, same temp, medium high. I'm going to add our butter. And we're going to brown this butter. And browning butter is evaporating all of the milk solids from the butter and caramelizing it. You'll see, you'll start to smell a nutty aroma, and that's what we're looking for. And once that goes, I'm going to get more garlic prepped. Save this bowl for after. Check on my rice. Looking good. I'm going to give it a quick stir before, leave it alone. And then leave it alone. So we're, as you can tell, we're at a kind of higher temp, but we want to let this brown. So it's going to seem weird. You're going to feel like you're doing something wrong, but this is where you get that nutty flavor. Now what we're going to do is take our knife and slap it down real nice and easy. We don't want to break this apart too much because we want to try to keep some nice slivers. But if you're not so fond of garlic, you can chop it down smaller. I would just add it more closer to the end so it doesn't burn. Make sure I don't have any moldy spots. And as you can tell, this is going pretty quick. We don't have too much butter. But all I'm going to do is take my knife and try to get as thinly sliced garlic as I can. I'm not going to dice this up. I'm going to kind of leave them a little bit bigger pieces. But that's all we're looking for. Nice and thin. Set that aside. So I don't know if you guys can tell in the video, it's starting to change color. You'll see it'll start to foam. The foaming will go away, and you'll see the amber color. We're going to let this go. I can already start to smell. Our rice is simmering, so I'm going to turn that off. I'll turn that low down. We're good. The rice is cooking. But now if you can tell, the butter has changed its color. We're starting to get a nutty aroma. We're going to go for another minute. Do we have any questions?
There are really no questions at this time.
All right. All right. So now we got that done. We're going to add a chili flake. And that's going to help bloom it. It's going to help bring out all those flavors. We're going to add our garlic. And I'm going to turn off the heat. And I'm going to add our breadcrumbs. And this is going to absorb a little bit. It's going to be a little bit on the wetter side, and that's perfectly fine because that's going to absorb into our nice broccolini.
Shane,
Give it a couple turns. Yep.
we actually have a question about the rice. Did you use hot water when you were rinsing the rice?
What was that question again, Mary?
Did you use hot water when you were
Oh,
rinsing?
cold water.
Cold water. Okay, thank
Cold
you.
water. This is now done. So I'm going to turn it, bring it back to this burner. We're cooking really good. As you can tell, we're already losing some moisture. We're going to make sure that it's perfect. And then the broccolini just came out, which is perfect too. Which we're just going to give it a nice stir, right? We're going to turn it, but we're getting some nice color on it. You can also throw this on the grill if you want. But I think the oven sometimes is a little easier. The rice is cooking. Got this. I'm going to start some more scallions for our salmon. Get our lemon ready as well because we're going to zest that at the end for our broccoli. So I'm going to take our scallions, and at a bias cut, I'm just going to cut some nice strips. And it's just some garnish for our salmon.
Hi, I have another question about the rice.
Yes.
Somebody wants to know if you could use chicken broth instead of water for the rice.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And then somebody wants to know if the rice is boiling on the burner right now.
It's simmering.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So I'm actually, just because it cooked a little quicker than wanted, I'm going to add a little bit more water to it. I'll let it finish. So now we're just waiting for the salmon to finish, the broccolini to finish. We have our salmon right here, which we'll finish off. Basmati rice is looking good. And then I'm going to shut that off and find my lid and let it sit for 5 minutes. So now we have our salmon. As you can tell, we have a nice glaze that started. It's now cooked down a little bit more. We're going to take our nice marinade again. And I only have one of those brushes, so I'm just going to use this other one, but just dab it really loosely so none of those fibers come off. And I like to leave this on the side. We can add it as a dressing for their salmon as well.
So Shane, if you wanted to, could you add bourbon to the maple glaze?
You can absolutely. Absolutely. At the food bank, we really don't cook with much alcohol. That's why we don't have anything. But absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm going to let this sit. We have this done. So I'm going to finish our nice cooked salmon with some nicely sliced scallions and some sesame seeds. So that's our salmon. Super easy. Like I said, it took 15 minutes in the oven. We're going to look, and I just know because of the timing, we're looking for 135 to 140 degrees. You can cook salmon at a medium. All depends on your likeness. Some people like salmon fully cooked. I like it closer to a medium, so I put it kind of a closer to 130. But it all depends on your likeness.
Shane,
So I have, yes.
somebody had a question. They wondered if
Absolutely.
would salmon belly be too delicate for this because
It would.
they're
It
at
would.
it's affordable.
So I wouldn't sear it. I would absolutely just roast it. But it's going to be a little bit more oily, just because of the fat content in the belly. But you could absolutely use that. Absolutely. So we're going to pull out the broccolini. I'm going to finish that. And as you can tell, this is now absorbed all that butter. And it's a nice crispy, crunchy topping now. This you can also put in a jar. It stays in the refrigerator for close to a week. I wouldn't let it be out room temp for too long, just because the butter's cooked now. It could spoil. But you can leave it out all day and it would be fine. If you want to do it in the morning, awesome. The broccolini finished, which is beautifully done. So as you can tell, we have some nice crispy bits to it and some more, I guess, undercooked pieces, but that aren't as charred. So what we're going to do is we're going to finish with our nice chili crisp. And this is where the citrus part comes in. Like I said, use at your discretion. And then we're going to use our nice zester. If you don't have a zester at home, that's fine. Your box grater usually has a side that does the same thing. But all we're looking for is just some nice zest.
Shane, while you're zesting,
Yes.
2 questions. One wants to, I think you put the salmon, you put the marinade on the salmon before you put it in the oven. Am I correct?
I did.
Okay.
Yep, I put it before and it cooked in it, and then I just finished with remember I set some aside and I stopped using the brush?
Right.
So I just finished, I put a little bit more sauce on it.
Right.
And that was it.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
And then I'm going to finish.
Go
right ahead.
All right. And then just one, somebody wants to know, what is the crisp that you put on the broccolini?
So the brown butter crisp I made on the saute pan. So
in the saute pan with the brown butter.
So I did the brown butter. I added the chili or the chili flakes, the garlic, and then I added the breadcrumbs at the end, and they all absorbed all that butter. So it just builds a nice crunchy topping. So all I'm going to do is just add just some lemon juice. And that just adds some nice brightness at the end. And then we'll check on our rice. The biggest thing is that absorb all the water. Yeah, we're looking good. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a fork. Yes.
They would like to know if you washed your lemon before you used it.
I washed all my vegetables and fruit. That's the biggest thing now. With some of the produce we're getting, we do want to wash it. I just forgot to take the sticker off. So all we're looking for now is all the water is absorbed. And nice fluffy rice. And all we're going to do is just finish it with scallion. You don't want to cook the scallion first because it's just going to continue to break down. So you want to add this at the end. So what I like to do is add a little bit in and then sprinkle the rest on top. And we're using this more as a flavoring. I know sometimes people use it as a garnish like we did for the salmon, but we're going to use a lot of this. So don't be afraid. And then this is where we season. So now that the rice is cooked all the way, we're gonna add a little black pepper and just a little salt. And that's your nice end of the summer salmon.
Hey, Shane, we had a question
Absolutely.
about the broccolini. If you don't like chili, is there another spice that you can use in place of
I
it?
would just, if you don't like it spicy, just take it out. Or use less. It tastes phenomenal without the chili. It's just like a kind of a garlic crisp. But I wouldn't use really anything else. The chili, because of the size of the flakes, anything spicy or like paprika or another, I guess, chili pepper is going to burn instantly. This doesn't burn because it hasn't been broken down yet, which that's where you have a tendency of ruining the product. So I would just omit it. Just don't put it in at all, or put less if you don't like it too spicy.
That sounds good.
We had another question.
Please.
So when you put your salt on, why do you hold your hand up so high and sprinkle the salt on?
So you get more even distribution. So if I sprinkle, and I'll be pretty, I guess, frank, is if I go down here, you're going to get more heavier spots, right? And if I go further up, you're just going to get more surface, and it's going to be more even. And that's it. We see a lot of chefs, like, I'm not going to say it, but you know that the TikTok person Salt Bay, who owns all the fancy restaurants, he sprinkles like this over his, and that's all show. That's he's putting fancy salt on steak. Chefs end up seasoning higher just to get more distribution and evenly salting. And that's it. Just an even season. And I do the same thing with pepper. This height just helps. Any other questions?
Well, they said they really enjoyed that. And they
Awesome.
said, how do you know if the salmon is cooked?
So I did touch on that, but for me, I know with the time frame and the size of the fish that at 12 to 14 minutes is going to be completely cooked. I would get an instant read thermometer and just temp it. It should be about 130, 135 degrees. You're looking for a medium heat. You can cook salmon medium, but it's going to temp like a steak. So if it gets 130, 135, that's a medium steak. It's a medium fish. It's going to be, but if you get anything past that 145, the moisture of the fish will become drier. And that just happens. Some people like their fish fully cooked, and that's perfectly fine. And it all depends on your discretion, how you like your fish cooked. I like mine a little under. I like mine at more of a medium, so it can continue to cook. But you've cooked it now in all of this nice glaze, so it's not going to lose any or much moisture.
Also, when you put your marinade or sauce, whatever you want to call it, onto the salmon, did you only do one side or did you do both sides?
So I only did one side. So it will cook. The sauce will end up getting to the bottom and caramelizing the bottom of the pan, but I just put it right on top.
All right. Well, if there's no more questions, let me just say that we want to thank you for joining us today with AARP New Hampshire and the Food Bank's cooking demonstration. So join us on September the 17th for our next online cooking demonstration, which will be chili and cornbread with honey butter.
Awesome.
Nice end of the summer thing.
Perfect end of the summer thing, I think.
Yep. And if you want to visit aarp.org/nh to learn more about all our virtual events, which include gentle yoga and educational webinars. All right. And like we said, that we're going to be on YouTube within a day or two. All right.
Thank you all.
And Mary put in the link exactly where you can go to sign up for the next class. And we look forward to seeing you next month.
Absolutely.
Oh, and Shane, somebody else said they don't even really like salmon, but it looks so good that they're
Try
going
it
to
out. Give it a whirl. Go for it.
Thank
you all.
Everyone. We'll see you later next month. Bye.
See you next month.